many years?
You mean me personally?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I've been on the.
Aware of.
Well, I've been aware of Mothers Club for over 10 years. Easy. Oh, more. Because Elizabeth started here on a project through Westridge, and she got Nancy involved, and I sort of gradually assumed consciousness of the organization, but, you know, through that coming more and more to see the events and to, particularly to see the mothers talk at the various events, just made a big impression on me. And then Nancy was on the board for 7 years, and then I've been on the board now for 4 years. So it's been a long time.
Close to 15 years?
Yeah, close, yeah.
So is your daughter, can you tell, so, because everyone won't know who Elizabeth is when they see this. So how did you become aware of Mothers Club?
Well, I first became aware of Mothers Club when my daughter Elizabeth, who was a student at Westridge School at the time, went to the old facility on Orange Grove for, I think it was an interim week project. They had a couple weeks when they did various projects away from school or traveled to exotic locales, but Mothers Club was the exotic locale that Elizabeth chose, I believe. And she just came home and couldn't stop talking about the place. And I remember that. I remember her coming back from that that sort of volunteer stint and thinking, well, that sounds really nice. But then she got my wife Nancy to go to Mothers Club to see it, and Nancy thought it was really good. And so I remember all of these specific conversations actually, but you know, after that, then Nancy just sort of got swept up. Oh, volunteering, doing various things at first. I'm not sure exactly what they were, but it seemed that pretty quickly she was on the board, and she was doing her cook and chat classes, which went on for quite a long time, and were very, very meaningful to her because of her relationships with the mothers. And here I am, just sort of tagging along.
What are some of the challenges that you've seen over this time that you've been involved within the city, historically or currently, that have posed fiscal or demographic challenges to Mothers Club and the work that it does in the community?
Well, I mean, for this kind of work, for teaching very, very young children, for providing opportunities to poor and isolated families, there's always a fiscal challenge. There's never enough money for that. And the fact that Mothers Club has survived in that environment for 50 years is amazing to me. But you go over to Orange Grove and you look at that facility and you realize, which you don't realize when you come to this facility, how much they were able to make with so little. I mean, it really was a club when it started. It wasn't a government-funded organization or agency. It wasn't a program that needed support from foundations. When it started, it was people coming together to help themselves. And that, I think, has been the strength, the unique strength of Mothers Club over all these years, which is that it started and rose out of the needs of the people who were being served. And it has grown from that need, that expressed need, over all of these years. It has not been imposed on anybody. It isn't a structure that was created in Washington or Sacramento and plopped down here in Pasadena. It is something that has grown up in Pasadena for people here, and it has adjusted little by little, year by year, as those needs have changed. So and in doing that, I think that it's kept very close to the cost, to the sources of its support and the needs of its clients have been closely aligned for over all that time, which has left us today, at least, for this snapshot in time, in a very healthy financial condition. We all know how quickly that can change, but I think that, you know, the approach that the organization has taken over all of these years is pretty deeply ingrained, and I think it's a very cautious and conservative organization financially, and so I think that we'll continue to meet those challenges in the future. Now, demographically, the challenges have been continually changing. When the organization first began, Pasadena was a much more Anglo community than it is now, and many of the mothers who came to the Mothers Club were Anglo mothers. But the makeup of the population of the city and the makeup of the clients here at Mothers Club has changed continually over time. And now the mothers and children are primarily Hispanic. And now that we've moved into Northwest Pasadena, there's a larger black population in the immediate area, and we're in the process of figuring out how can we, well, what are their needs? Are they any different from the needs of the clients we're presently servicing? And if they are, how can we fulfill those needs in ways that are meaningful to us and that we're good at doing? So this is an ongoing process of evaluation and change, and again, I think that is one of the great strengths of Mothers Club, being sensitive to what those needs are and adjusting to them consistent with our core strength, which is two-generation learning.
Thank you, John. Can you give me a little insight as to what part Sue has in guiding this